Hoping to finally see the end of the brutal and idiotic reign of the crazy clerics and mad mullahs in Iran, I wondered how this gang of bearded morons had managed to take control in the first place, and I was pretty surprised. But perhaps not too surprised to find that they probably couldn't have done it without the help of the BBC and false flag terrorism, which saw some 400 people burned alive for the moral crime of going to the cinema. The Rex cinema fire was a catalyst for the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which brought into power a regime which used terror to gain power, then once assuming power, proceeded to terrorize and impoverish the country they had managed to steal. On the 19th of August 1978, the Cinema Rex in Abadan in southwestern Iran was set ablaze in a deliberate arson attack which burnt to death between 377 and 470 people. Four individuals motivated by Islamic extremism had doused the building in kerosene before setting it on fire and barricading and blocking the exit from the burning building. Initially, it was accurately reported by the press that Islamic Marxists had started the fire. However, the propaganda machine of Islamic revolutionaries proved grimly effective, and the future Ayatollah, Ruhollah Khomeini, blamed the Shah's secret police for the attack. And the Iranian public accepted this distortion and acted upon it, fueling the fervor in Iran against the Shah, and leading to tens of thousands of Iranians taking to the streets shouting, "Burn the Shah!" and "The Shah is the guilty one." A man called Hassan Talakzadeh, claiming to be the lone surviving arsonist, stated in court that he was responsible for starting the fire and insisted that he did it on his own accord as an ultimate sacrifice for the revolutionary cause, and had no connection to any groups loyal to the Shah, including the Savak. The new government, after summarily dismissing judges involved with the case and hampering the process, finally executed Hassan Talakzadeh for setting the fire on the Shah's orders. Ayatollah Nouri Hamadani is reported by some sources to be one of the figures behind the arson attack. According to a journalist and intelligence minister at the time, the order for the fire came from clerics in Najaf, Iraq, a major center of Shia Islam where Ayatollah Khomeini was in exile. Hamadani reportedly justified the action by stating the goal was for the people of Khuzestan province to join the strikes against the Shah, suggesting a political motive tied to the revolutionary movement. The judge in the post-revolution trial of the perpetrators was his son-in-law, Musavi Tabrizi. While Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini himself was in exile in Najaf at the time, the perpetrators were described as his followers and part of the Islamic movement he led. The attackers' actions were consistent with a broader pattern of Islamic activists setting fire to cinemas and other venues considered symbols of Western decadence. Khomeini and his supporters initially blamed the Shah's secret police, Savak, for the massacre. He condemned the fire publicly and hailed the victims as martyrs of the revolution, a narrative that was widely believed at the time and proved to be a significant propaganda victory for the opposition, galvanizing public anger against the Shah's regime. The new post-revolution government downplayed evidence pointing to Islamist involvement during the subsequent trial. There are some reports that indicate Ahmad Khomeini, Ruhollah Khomeini's son, might have been involved. An interview with Ayatollah Lahudi mentioned that another cinema, in Qom, was bombed by Ahmad Khomeini's order. While direct evidence linking him specifically to the Cinema Rex fire is less concrete in the provided information, the general orders for cinema arsons were reportedly coming from the circle of clerics in Najaf who were in close contact with the Khomeini family. There is more than a hint of Western support for the Iranian coup, and perhaps even coordination and direction. In November 1964, Ruhollah Khomeini stayed in Bursa at the home of Colonel Ali Setiner of Turkish military intelligence. Additionally, he received the support of France after Saddam Hussein expelled him from Iraq and spent 4 months in exile, from October 1978 to February 1979, specifically directing the revolution prior to his return. The cause of the Ayatollah and despotic retrogressive Islamic tyranny was taken up by the BBC, and in the UK media he was endlessly promoted as an Eastern mystic or even prophet who did not seek power but instead sought to free his people from oppression. The BBC's Persia service gave extensive airtime to Khomeini, making him a household name in the West and in Iran, and inadvertently becoming a powerful tool for his movement. The BBC documented Khomeini's triumphant return from his French exile in February 1979, capturing the moment he declared, "I will strike with my fists at the mouths of this government," effectively challenging the Shah's authority. For their part, the BBC itself later issued a statement admitting to having a critical disposition to the Shah, saying that its broadcasts helped to change the collective perception of the population. And just so we know what kind of filth and scum we are dealing with in Iran, in the form of the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran, look at the example of Mohammad Mohammadi Gilani. Gilani was one of the judges that handed out death sentences to protesters in 2009, some of whom were children. Gilani justified the trials and executions of the young girls, stating, "By the Islamic canon, a 9-year-old girl is mature. So there is no difference for us between a 9-year-old girl and a 40-year-old man." There can be no rational reason for the BBC actively supporting Ayatollah Khomeini and the Iranian Revolution, and being instrumental in their rise to power and the ensuing 45 years of mass murder, state oppression, and tyranny. Except that perhaps the BBC isn't quite what it seems and is instead following a murderous covert left-wing agenda of Marxist or Islamic global revolution. We should ask ourselves why they did this and who might have benefited from a weakened and impoverished Iran for so many years, a period which hopefully will soon come to an end if the country can only shake off the shackles of the evil and stupid mullahs.